conflict happens. And so I sat down and I thought about Nunzi because there was a lot of conflict in Nunzi's earlier life. Nunzio disagreed with the idea of humans being around him to begin with, but in addition to that, when we were around, there were some deep personal needs that were coming up. Okay? He was fearful. He had been in situations where he had not had what he needed, where he was not safe, where humans were bringing him pain. So he had this deep personal need to be safe. And he disagreed with us being in his presence. And he wasn't aware. He wasn't aware of what he was doing. He was just acting on his feelings. I'm scared, I'm going to bite you. I'm scared, I'm going to scream. We do the same thing. Don't forget we're animals. Don't forget we are animals. We do the same thing. So the situation with Nunzi ended up being able to resolve because the deep personal feelings were on his side. I was able to stay calm when I was around Nunzi, and I was able to work through it with him. By the end of his life, not only was he no longer screaming, he was no longer biting, he was accepting belly rubs and visiting with people and having a wonderful time. But what do we do when the emotions run deep on every side? What do we do when there's nobody who doesn't have deep personal issues welling up in them? Okay? This is a picture of Satya, and she's going to help us understand this. And this, by the way, is what a horse looks like when there's deep emotions coming up. Okay. And this is Quicker. So when Satya and Quicker met one another, it was frightening. Satya decided, many horses want to dominate when they first meet, but Satya decided she was going to go all out and she was going to win this. She was chasing Quicker. She was a white-hot ball of terror. This horse was 1,000 pounds, and she was kicking, she was biting, she was striking, she was running, she was swirling. There was no way that I could control this horse. And Quicker started running. Quicker's also 1,000 pounds, but he's much older. Much older than Satya, and he's not nearly as fast. So I started feeling all of these things welling up in me, okay? My knees started getting weak. I could feel my blood coursing through me. My stomach dropped. My heart was pounding. There was no way that I could control this situation. There were 2,000-pound horses, and one of them was about to fight, and the other one was running, and I could see that the one who was chasing him was going to catch him. Quicker showed me the way. He showed me what to do when there's deep personal need on both sides, when the emotions bubble up in all of us, okay? He stopped. He stopped reacting. He stopped running. He slowed down, and he started breathing. He put his head down, and he started chewing on the grass. Now, putting your head down and chewing is a universal sign for a prey mammal, okay? I can't attack you. I'm eating, see? It's kind of like a human when we smile and we offer our hand to shake, right? I don't have a weapon in my hand, see? I'm friendly, okay? It's the same thing. So Quicker did that, and Satya stopped. And slowly, she lowered her head. She's still breathing hard. She lowers her head. She paws the ground. Snow on the ground. She gets to a little bit of grass and she starts nibbling. Her ears are still up. She's still watching Quicker. If you start moving, I'm going to start moving. But okay, I'm eating. Quicker took a deep breath and took a step towards Satya. Miraculously, she took a step towards him. He was breathing audibly, slowly, calmly, audibly. I felt my own breathing start to match his. Satya did the same. Here's the miracle. They walked up to one another, and Quicker, he put his nostril against her nostril, and he breathed in her breath. And she then breathed in his exhale. And they stood together, sharing breath. It's as if they were saying, we breathe the same air, we're one. There's no reason for fear, we're one. Compassion is the road through. That's what Quicker showed me that day. He didn't react in fear. He didn't react with all of his emotions coming up. He stopped and he thought and he responded. And he said, she's afraid. That's why she's attacking me. Let me show her there's nothing to fear here. Compassion is the road through. I want to share with you a quote from a really fantastic Zen Buddhist teacher. Her name is Karen Mazen Miller. She says, compassion isn't a fable. It isn't an unattainable ideal. It is simply a turn away from the isolation of ego and toward the world we create, inhabit, and share. From this perspective, every single cry fills my entire universe. Every single problem is my problem. Every wound is mine to heal. Sure, suffering can divide us into the perpetrator and the victim, the powerful and the powerless, but it can awaken and unite us too. In fact, it must. So how do we attain this compassion? Our brains are like muscles, okay? How many of you have ever played the violin? Okay, a couple of you have. Were you ready to start performing concerts in Carnegie Hall a month after you started playing? Why not? It takes practice, right? We don't expect to do that. We don't expect to be a concert violinist after a month of playing or a year of playing, right? But we do know that if we practice and practice and practice every day for a year, we're going to get better and better and better. Okay? Compassion is the same thing. We need to practice it. So these are 7 steps that we can take every day that I have learned from our beloved animal friends to help us develop and practice that compassion. And it's something that's going to require our discipline to do. Okay? So the first thing is the morning ritual, and we're going to go through each one of these. Okay? The second is see me like an animal. See yourself like an animal. Visualize the end of suffering. Choose to respond instead of react. Shine. And do your evening practice. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about Jeremiah Jones. Do you see that red on his nose? That is blood spurting out of his nose with every breath that he took. When we first rescued him, he was in very bad shape. He had been through some terrible, terrible things. Notice something in his eye? That's within a day or two of being rescued. He has gratitude in his eyes. He had no reason to be grateful. He was grateful for every single small thing that he could see. He still does this today. He's a very grateful pig. So Jeremiah teaches us to focus on gratitude. Focus on gratitude no matter what. Get yourself a journal. Okay, make it beautiful. Find a journal that you love or decorate it with things that you love. Get it in a color that you love. Put dried flowers or leaves or things that make you happy on the journal. Do whatever you need to do. Get yourself a pen that's in a beautiful color or something that you enjoy. And before getting out of bed every single day, list 5 things that you're grateful for. In the beginning, this can be hard. Sometimes we can't think of the things we're grateful for. We're so busy thinking about all of the problems and the things we have to do, and we're too rushed and we can't take time for this. Get up 5 minutes earlier and take time for this, because what happens is you start with, well, I'm grateful that I have a journal. I'm grateful that I know how to write. I'm grateful that I have access to clean water, whatever it is. But you'll notice that when you get in the habit of doing this, just like Jeremiah, throughout the day, you're going to see more and more things to be grateful for. You're exercising that muscle. Okay? You're exercising that muscle in your mind that's looking at what's good, that's looking at what's working. And that's going to help us with our compassion. This is Penny, and Penny teaches us the second of the practices of the day. So once you have actually written in your gratitude journal and you're getting up and you're going through your day, whatever it is that you would normally do, you might be commuting to work, you might be caring for animals, you might be checking your emails. whatever it is. What Penny would do first thing in the morning is she would find someone who needed her. She would find someone who needed her, and she would go and be there for them. Okay? Just give them some comfort and some compassion. It could be another cow, it could be a human, it could be a goose, it could be anybody at all. But Penny would look for someone every day. Okay? So Penny was seeing everybody as the animals that we are. Okay? And so I noticed that it's easy for us, for example, for myself, it's easy for me to have compassion if I see a dog on a chain somewhere. Okay? Or I'm driving by a farm where there are cows. But it's harder to have compassion for the person who cuts you off in traffic, or for the woman who yells at you in the grocery store. Okay? So what Penny teaches us is to start thinking about those people as animals too. Okay? Visualize how they might be suffering. The same way that you inherently understand why that dog on a chain might be suffering. Every human is suffering. All of us are suffering. Okay? Visualize what that might be. What is this person's pain? Where does it come from? And when have I felt something like that? This is Sherman. Sherman's going to teach us the next piece. And Sherman used to attack every single bird that he ever was around ever. He was great with humans, eat out of your hands, cuddle up, everything else. He would attack every single bird. Until one summer, a young man who had some special needs and some trouble handling his own anger issues came and volunteered with us for the summer. And this young man named Charlie and Sherman became very close. And what we discovered is that if we asked Charlie to watch Sherman so that Sherman could have some outside time and not attack anybody, all Charlie needed to do was walk a little bit closer to Sherman when his feathers started puffing up and he started showing that he was gonna do something that perhaps was not compassionate towards another bird. Charlie would start walking over towards him and Sherman would calm down. What we also noticed, what Charlie's aide actually noticed, who was with him, was that when Charlie was starting to get frustrated, when Sherman would approach and come closer to him, Charlie would calm down. So they were acting as witness for each other, and even just by the very thing of having someone bring it to their attention, okay, all these emotions are coming up, I'm about to lose control. Okay? So we can do that for ourselves if we don't have a Sherman nearby at any given time. We can be our own witness. And then when we see that coming up, we have to start seeing ourselves as animals. Okay? So noticing those issues as they come up. Just being aware of our emotions can really help us not to react too quickly and not to react cruelly. Visualize the end of suffering. So again, think about that animal that you loved and how you wished that you could have helped them. Okay? This is Duncan and Nugget, by the way, and they are extremely compassionate, both towards each other and everybody else. So the question is, how would I have liked to help that animal that I saw, that I had compassion for? And can I do something similar for this human animal? Start to visualize yourself helping them. You can't always, right? So maybe the person will cut you off in traffic and they're already gone. But visualize how you could have helped them with their suffering. This is Bo, and he's going to teach us a very important lesson, which is that kindness ripples. And so does cruelty. Which one are you going to choose? This is Mazor Nur Tamid. His name means a healing balm of eternal light. When he came to us, he had had a spinal crush injury that had gone untreated for years. And he had lots and lots and lots of reason to shut down and close out the world. But instead, what he does is he literally shines all day, every day. He shines. He shines his light everywhere he goes, on everyone he sees. And when we feel like we've been mistreated, let's remember Mazzy. Think about this person who's mistreating you as someone who's given you a gift. Okay? They've given you a gift because they're providing you with a chance to grow. So withdraw from that situation and then quietly just reflect on what might have caused that person suffering. Okay? And just like Mazzy does, cultivate that empathy and imagine yourself as a light, shining love and compassion in them. Your evening practice. Go back to that journal. Okay. First thing I want you to do is write 5 more things that you're grateful for. And then just reflect on your day. What went well? Okay? When were you kind? When were you able to respond instead of react? What could you have done better? Think about yourself maybe doing better next time. Envision that. Okay? It's okay. We all make mistakes. Goodness knows, I make enough for all of us in this whole room every day. So we all make mistakes. Think about how we can do better next time and actually envision ourselves doing it. And in your gratitude journal, don't forget to list those 5 things that you're grateful for as the last thing you do before you sleep at night. I'd like to share another quote with you. This is again from Karen Maison-Miller. I know the fear and pain. I listen to the cries which echo my own. But what I see in this goes beyond me alone. What I see is you, and you, and you. An infinite whole that conveys the magnitude of the suffering, the empathy required of us, and the urgent need for each of us to wake up and begin to do good. When I can forget myself, even for a moment, the barrier between us dissolves. Then my own eyes and arms reach out with compassion. So our responsibility as activists for the other animals, as we represent them, is to represent them as they would wish to be represented. Our hearts and our hands as we rush to save them must do our best and strongest work. So for them, I ask you, forget yourself, even for a moment. Remember this infinite world of suffering. It requires one thing and one thing alone: compassion for all. Unless we have compassion for all life, we have compassion for none. So with your heart and eyes and hands open, I'm asking you to reach out in compassion. This is the only way that we can heal this broken world. Thank you.
Indra's exhibit right outside. Going to let you go to your sessions. Melanie Joy is going to be signing her book upstairs in the exhibit hall of Beyond Carnism. Claire Mann is also going to be signing her book tomorrow, so find out when. And thank you all. Don't forget to go to the exhibits. Go early, go often, and also tip your housekeeping often the day that it's actually done, because at the end it's often a different housekeeper. So if you tip the bartender, you tip your servers, tip housekeeping. They don't make a lot of money here, so a couple bucks goes a long way. Every time they're there, it's best. Okay, thank you all. That's the conference organizer of me. All right.